Hey guys, welcome back to the top 25 of the last 25 years. I'm here with my friend Jake Elkins, Ironclad. Jake, how's it going?
Jason, what's up, man? Glad to be back again. Let's do this. It's gonna be fun, be fantastic.
It is. It's been a lot of fun up to this point. Um, the thing I really like about it is I like the process that it took to kind of get to this point for me. I like the kind of stroll down memory lane. That kind of was a lot of fun. I love the interaction with different people. I know that there's a little bit of banter going back and forth. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's just good to talk about the sport and the history of the sport in the state of Alabama.
100%. This is not written in Sharpie, right? It's definitely not chiseled in stone, and it's just fun. It's just a look. Hey, maybe I'm not right. Excuse me. Maybe you're not right. Right? We're just two guys with opinions on it, and trying to use our perspective to offer that. Listen, this is very, very difficult. And like we've said, it's a live list. It's going to look different in 2 years. It'll
Yeah,
look very different in five. Very different.
I agree.
And I hope it looks different after NCAAs this year. You know what I'm saying? I hope it looks really different after that.
I
Um,
agree. I
and
agree.
so,
So I don't want to go through a list of people who, I mean, last time we did this, the countdown of, yours and the fans and mine and so on and so forth. I just want to touch on a couple of names, not many, a couple of names that we've kind of mentioned over the first two episodes. Everybody can go back and watch those two episodes. We talk about these individuals in much greater depth. Um, but a few names that kind of just still resonate with for you. Is there a name or two?
oh man, there's some tough dudes. I'm staring at the list of people we're going to talk about today, and I think that's probably
Where
the
your head is?
yeah, that my head is all about these guys right here. I'll just say, man, there's a um Alabama has some rich history. It's growing all the time. Uh, Time stamping different eras. These guys, everybody's standing on the shoulders of the people that have come before them, and it's hard to really timestamp. When pre-flow wrestling, pre-track wrestling,
Hmm.
how good were those guys? I know the fans list. A lot of people are really favoring the fans list, which really favors the more recent modern era. A lot of people in the last
Hmm.
10 years really heavy. And it's just listen, those people are all fantastic. You just got to give respect to the people that predate that, right, and helped us to get to that point where that was even possible. I just think that's really important, and trying to give respect where it's due, because it's just an impossible thing. I mean, there's really nothing negative to say about one single name on this list anywhere, and that was the hardest thing. Is you're going, I don't want to put a dent in anybody's resume by how you try to make this list, because only positive things and good vibes across the board. It's been fantastic seeing a lot of the banner. Getting beat
Yeah,
up about it. It's just I just love it.
yeah,
I love everything about it. And so
yeah, 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 yeah.
thank you for
So,
doing this.
so I think that one of the things that stuck out to me before I want to talk about something else of some wrestlers who just barely missed the list, maybe for us.
Yeah.
Um, but um, but the thing that kind of resonated for me was, and this we're going to talk about this actually in this with these last six names as well, and that is there's a lot of individuals like an Isaiah Poe, like a Christian Knopp, like a different individuals who are still writing their story, and I think that's super cool. That there's a lot of individuals who made the list, your list, my list, the fans list, who are still doing their thing. That shows you the growth of Alabama wrestling, I think.
Yeah, that live list, like I said, I think this list, I'm hopeful that I would make a lot of changes to my list, reshuffle it after NCAAs this year. I can think of several names that are there, a couple that we're going to get to talk about today, that would change, right? And
Yeah.
and I hope that continues to happen.
So, a couple names that you kind of, I don't know if you were like me, but like I made my list and then I went, wow, I've got like 70 names. I can only have 25.
So long.
Right. So then I went through and I like started scratching people's names off and I'm like, da, 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 and I'm like, I get it down to like maybe 40, 35 or 40. And I'm like, God, I get 10 more. Like, how in the world am I going to get rid of these 10 people? Um, so a couple names that kind of pop into my thoughts as it relates to that And Jackson Hall mentioned it on Facebook. I'm glad he did because I totally overlooked them, and that was the Carlson brothers, Henry and Marty. Um, I know why I missed them, but why don't you give me a little bit of background if you remember? You remember them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were right behind me. I think Marty was a year behind me, maybe 2 years, and then Henry right behind him. They were studs. I mean, very very skilled athletes. They moved here from Virginia, and so they were really good before they even got here. And I want to say Marty was maybe like a sophomore. I could be wrong about that, but they
Well,
moved in.
I think Marty graduated from Vestavia, so
Yeah, he
that
he
would have
went
been
he
his sophomore.
graduated, but
Yeah.
he I want to say he moved in as like a sophomore. They moved in, wrestled here a couple years, and then before Henry graduated, he moved back and actually finished in Virginia. And so they were like in Virginia, came here and were great, and then went back. They did a lot of things while they were here, but I didn't. They were some names that I had down, but I did not include just because it was kind of like they were sort of hybrid. But incredibly skilled athletes, did some amazing things, great accomplishments all the way through. Yeah, fantastic.
So a couple other names that kind of popped on my list. Dylan Campbell was a four-timer at Oak Grove. BG Overstreet. If you don't
Yeah.
remember, that's an old
Is it
name
is it
back.
is it BG? Is it actually BG or is it BJ?
I think it's BG.
I think you're right. I knew it as BJ, but somebody else said BG, and I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong.
He wrestled. I think he wrestled at Grissom. Was a
I
four-time
believe
state
so.
champion at
Yeah,
Grissom. That sort of thing. Hayden Riles.
man, he's good.
He was
Hammer, son of a brick mason, tough as nails.
really son of a
Wherever
brick mason.
son of a brick mason. Wherever Toby Riles is, that's every time you meet Toby's like, I'm just all brick mason. Been laying brick my whole life. Like Toby is as good as gold. Great dude, long time wrestling family. They're South Side through and through, and
They
and
are, yeah.
man, they're just good folks, really good folks. And Hayden is tough, dude. I mean, just hammer tough,
Went to Air Force Academy,
skills.
right?
Went to Air Force Academy, had a great career there. Um, yeah, bro. He's don't you don't you have to wrestle. You're in the circle with Hayden Riles. You knew it when it was over with. That's one you remember.
Another name that kind of popped up that was also a four-time champ was a Derek Carmichael, who I believe went to App State, wrestled at App State for a period of time.
Yeah, Derek Carmichael is my age. We're the same age. He won my bracket. We were both 140 pounders as freshmen in high school, and I think he graduated high school wrestling the same weight class. And
Oh, is that right?
Derek's a stud. He might have bumped to 145, but I think he wrestled all 4 years at 140. And he looked in sixth grade. I wrestled Derek Carmichael, and I remember like crying. I remember just being pissed because he had like a Team Michigan singlet on, and he looked like he was 20 years old in sixth grade. I mean, chest, leg hair, looked like he could weave an Indian blanket, and I was like, hadn't even thought about puberty, and he pinned me in like 30 seconds my first year of wrestling, and I was like, it was the Team Alabama qualifier back when you had one of those,
Hmm.
and you had to like win the tournament to get the gear package to get to go to Chattanooga and wrestle against Team Michigan and Team New Jersey and all those things. It was really really cool. What a fun era actually just thinking back about it. But I mean, like just tied me in a pretzel and I remember like being so upset about it because I thought he was from Michigan because he had a Team Michigan singlet on. I was like, he's not even from Alabama. And and so I got everybody remembers the first time you got baptized with fire, and I got it that day for sure. I think I had one youth state first year wrestling, so I thought I was the man, and then I found out I wasn't the man. It was like learning that the earth wasn't flat for the first time, like so he put it on me. Derek was a stud, four-timer, man, like really skilled. He was
Yeah.
part of that Prattville crew with the Countrymans. Obviously the Carmichaels. There's some other brothers too. It was like three families that had 12 kids total, and they would go over and train in Georgia all the time. And man, it was just a really, really he was a stud for sure.
I want to jump to Dalton Carroll because Dalton was a four-time state champ from Walter Welborn, and honestly, I don't remember Dalton all that well. But according to the records, he won it in seventh grade, won it in eighth grade. I don't have him down as a ninth grader, even placing necessarily. So that if somebody can straighten me
I
out.
think,
Did he get
man,
hurt?
I need to ask. I remember it seems like I remember he lost and it was like a huge ordeal. People went
Is that
berserk
right?
because um like he got pinned, I think it's one of those like weird call, whatever the case is, right? And there's definitely a story to it. But I just remember the crowd going crazy. And if I recall correctly, like he got upset in some crazy fashion or whatever. But Dalton was one of those that, I mean, he won, the USA bracket state, then he won SYWO state, and he did that for 10 years, and then he won all the way through high school, and so he was really a stud. He was in that Jordan Simpson and Brandon Brindley kind of era with
Hmm.
those guys. They were those dads and those boys were just a wrecking crew running across the state, and Dalton's one of those, and so it was fun. I think Dalton and Jordan actually are running a club together now. They just started a club
Oh, is that right?
out East Alabama area, and so that's pretty cool. They're kind of getting back into it and
Very
stuff. So
cool. That's
yeah,
awesome. I love the fact that individuals have, connections and they bring that knowledge back to,
so
different
fun.
communities and everything else. Two other individuals that I was thinking of before we get to our final six, and I don't want to cut it off at some point in time because I could spend all day talking about different people.
Yeah,
Um, but Nick Weldon and Brooks Scrimshire both were really important in terms of winning. I mean, awesome individuals. But I remember, wasn't Nick a really important part of Clay Chalkville's kind of rise during a particular point in time?
yeah. So when Clay had no wrestling happening or whatever, I mean, he was him and his brother were training there. They both were state champions at Clay, and a big part of that program kind of having some success there. Thereafter, there was kind of a little stint there where they had some different wrestlers that came through and were good. And but the big thing for Nick is that he went to Penn State, right? And so he
Right.
he won some big matches in Fargo and at nationals, and he was kind of like around the way at just about every event. But he was always in the fight. But he had some really significant wins, and through some relationships, got to go wrestle at Penn State for several years, and really became kind of there was a way that was like a Roger Bannister type thing of like, hey, a kid can go wrestle at. I mean, he was at Penn State when everyone was there, when that era was really taking off, and so Quentin Wright had come down and done some clinics and stuff with us, and was a big part of getting him recruited there, and so he wrestled there for several years. I think he spent 2 years there, and then transferred and actually went to my alma mater and finished out there, got his degree and all this stuff. Had a lot of injuries and didn't really have the rest of the success on the mat that he probably wanted, but yeah, I mean, did a great thing, and I think is definitely worth mentioning. I got beat
Yeah.
up actually. He was blasting me for not putting him on the list. I said, "Hey, you're on that honorable mention, baby." Yeah, he was texting me yesterday. He's like, "You sorry sucker." He's like, "I must be number one since I wasn't on the last list."
Well, and then the last person was Brooks Scrimshire. And I could talk about a lot of different individuals over a lot, like different periods of time. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring up Brooks was because of what you said in that, in like time stamping different things. And Huntsville has always had a really good program over a period of time. But for a long period of time, they were behind a Hoover or a
Yeah,
Thompson or a Vestavia or whatever. And it felt like Brooks and then Warren Hoyt and different individuals kind of really were super important to the current Huntsville team
yes.
that is filled with a bunch of hammers, one of state titles last year, and keep getting better and better and better. And I just feel like that they played a pretty important role in that
I
situation.
think that's a great point, right? Is that, I mean, Brooks, number one, was very skilled, um, really really tough wrestler. JP did a great job with him over the years up there in Huntsville. Huntsville was kind of on an island really for a long time in wrestling. Now there's a lot of really good wrestling coming out of there, and JP has been the pioneer up there. Not that there's other places and whatever else, but it's Huntsville is huge and really spread out. And and so JP's done a great job with him up there, and I mean, all along he was like, man, Brooks, this kid's so good, and he was kind of looking for him to punch his ticket, and he finally did, and he's a super stud. Yeah, I mean, and was definitely a pioneer in that program, and a big part of what Huntsville looks like now, right? Super. I
I
mean,
think
they got
so.
an elite
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. All right. So who we now get
Here we
to
go.
six
Let's
names.
go.
Six names. And it's really interesting is I'm going to talk about two of these individuals because they're a little further down on either your list or on the fans list. And we're going to start with number 15 on your list, number 5 on the fans list, number 4 on my list. And that is out of Thompson High School, Will Miller, App State. Um, for me, if you listen back to Jake's, and I don't want to put words in Jake's mouth here, but if you listen back, he talked a little bit about struggling with where to put Isaiah Poe. Was this a similar struggle
Man,
with where to put Will Miller?
yeah, I really struggled with where to put a couple of these guys. I mean, dude, I'm a Will Miller fan. He did not wrestle for me in high school and stuff. He's a Warrior guy. He's been there through and through. But I knew his family and his older brother and everything. We coached them when they were all little kids and stuff. I'm a huge Will Miller fan. I love App State. I love John Mark Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really struggled where to put him, and I really think that I've said all along. I'm like, man, Will's going to be. I was talking with this coach, and I said, Will's going to his best wrestling is going to happen in college, and we saw that last year at NCAA's. And
Yeah,
I
we
think,
did.
listen, after NCAA's this year, like maybe he's top five. Maybe he's one of the guys. Um, I really struggled with where to put him, and I honestly, as I'm looking at where everybody else had him, I'm like, man, maybe I messed that up. Um,
No,
he's
I
he's
mean
a
it
dog,
is
right?
what it
Like
is.
he's a
Yeah.
dog. He's still doing it, and that was just so difficult putting guys that are still in college and going. I don't know, if a guy quits wrestling and walks away today, are you like, does that affect his legacy or whatever? Versus
Right.
how does
Right.
he finish? Right? He's surging and probably,
And,
I mean,
and
easily
he
top 10.
really and he really is. He really is surging. It's
He's
one of those
surging.
situations where I remember watching Will, and he wasn't highly recruited out of high school. App State seemed like a really good fit for him because John Mark Bentley does such a great job of developing some,
Yeah,
wrestlers that move to that level. And Will came in as a freshman, wrestled real well. Kind of, I think he was in and out of the lineup necessarily at 165, kind of figuring it out. And
yeah,
then I'll tell you what, in 22, 23, and 23, 24, something switched and he qualified for NCAA's twice, both each year. I remember watching him last year, and his game is just so
he's
different than
getting
it
he's
was
yeah
years ago. Like
he's really blossoming
he really is.
and he's getting better all the time. I don't get to, I haven't been around him a ton lately, right? I'm just watching. I'm just a fan from a distance. And if
I
you're a kid
agree.
from Alabama wrestling at the next level, I'm rooting for you, dog. I don't care what T-shirt you wear. Don't care. Will Miller's a stud, great family, and dude, it's an honor to be on this list. I mean, I don't know, like and
Yeah,
again, like he's in like I have no problem with him being top six at all. I mean, nothing but respect. And I'm looking forward to, I really think he's gonna be on that podium, man. He's gonna have a chance. Like it really does have a chance. He's a
I agree, and
tough kid.
I love the fact that if you look at App State, John Milner
Yeah.
was a two-time All-American, wasn't highly recruited out of North Carolina, went to App State and just developed into this hammer. Will Formato was not hugely recruited out of the state of Georgia, went to App State and has developed into a fantastic wrestler there. Will Miller is in the same boat. And I'm looking at the posters that they're making of the schedule, and Will Miller standing there front and center, because I mean he's now kind of the one of
Poster
the
boy. Yeah.
leaders of that team.
Literally one
So
of the poster boys, right? Like,
absolutely, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're gonna now move to Seth Garvin out of Homewood. He comes in number 4 on your list, 16 on the fans list. I don't
oh,
understand what the fans are thinking,
that's so
but you know
hard.
what? It's so long ago. I put him number 6, and I mean, honestly, I could make a case for why Seth is 1 or 2 on the list. Um, but I also look at it and say, um, I also look at it and say, you know what? He qualified. I think he was a one-time qualifier for UTC. Unbelievable talent. Maybe probably the first real individual that I watched from the state of Alabama that I went, wow, that's
Yeah.
like that is.
I mean, he was wrestling with like the Askren brothers, and I mean, his high school resume, dude, like the heads that he's got on a spike from high school are crazy. When I was hanging out with Max the first time, he was like, Seth Garvin? I was like, yeah, that's Seth. He's like, yeah, he's like, that sucker beat me one time. He's like, I had to get him back, and I mean, um he was a dude. People would stop wrestling at tournaments to watch him compete. I can't tell you like how different that is. And you have to understand it was in an era there was not YouTube, there
Right.
was not Flow, there was not Track. You had never seen anything like this guy when he would compete. And I can't put enough respect on his name because I mean, he was spending 8 hours on a Sunday training. Like it took,
Yeah.
you drive 3 hours to Atlanta, train for 3 or 4 hours, and then drive back. Like he was doing that every Sunday. And the model that he created with his dad, like is the thing that everyone else followed. Everyone else, he was a serious pioneer. When the first club started in Alabama, he was like the guy. And every wrestling dad that I know is like, dude, Seth Garvin? I mean, he's awesome, man. And
Well, and the other part with Seth was that I think that he wrestled so much different than everyone else did in the state. I mean,
no, it just
he
looked
he
different.
was doing things that just I mean, I was maybe used to it a little bit becoming from another state or things along those lines. But you watched him do super ducks, you watched him do different things, and you're like, this is just he's so different than everyone
He
else.
he looked like an octopus around a bunch of mammals, dude. Like he was not. He was like that one doesn't look like the rest of the group. Like I don't understand. Like you couldn't even. You're just like, hey, watch this. Hey, watch this. And it was like the crowd would ooh and ah. It was,
Mm-hmm.
dude. He
It was
made
amazing.
incredible wrestlers look silly. And bro, 16's tough. That's tough on my man. That's
Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking, but that's okay. All
it's all
right,
right.
so
Yeah.
let's move to a consensus top five pick for you and me and the fans, and that's Gabe Hicksonbaugh, Thompson High School, went to Campbell, wrestled at Campbell, I think for 4 years,
Yep.
came back, won a Division II national title for our newly minted program, Montevallo, in the state of Alabama, which is awesome. He's five on your list, four on the fans list, five on my list. Um, Look, again, another individual that you knew how talented he was in high school. He, for me, is a good example of how difficult it is to make the lineup at a Division I
Yeah.
program because he was in and out of the lineup. He wrestled for Campbell sometime, and then sometimes he'd be beat out by Dominic Zacconi or some of the others. And then he comes back to Montevallo, and I mean, so important for the University of Montevallo and for Alabama wrestling to go out there in their first year and win a D2 national title.
Yeah. Really. Um, Again, a pioneer, another era, right? So we get our first college program, Huntington, boom, Division II program, close proximity to Birmingham here at Montevallo, right at 30 minutes outside of town, like lots of energy there. And it's kind of like, yeah, what are they going to do? And then all of a sudden, homegrown boy, Gabe Hicksonball, I mean, right in the
Well, no,
backyard from
came in
Alabaster.
from Michigan, right? I mean, he
Well, but
was
he came in like fifth grade, right?
okay.
So
All right, all
so
right.
he came. I mean, I remember they had just moved here in 2012. I want to say he was in fifth or sixth grade. He used to wrestle this kid Matthew Rogers all the time, who was a stud who moved to Las Vegas. Um, and so I mean, he grew up here. I would say he's an Alabama boy as much as anybody.
All right.
And so wins what 5 state titles in high
Yeah.
school, All American, all the places, national champ in high school, goes wrestles Division I. then decides, hey, this is going on back home. I'm coming home to hang out with my boys, and wins a title. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, you just that's hard to beat, right?
It
He's
is.
kind of checked all the boxes, and he's just a good dude, man. Like level headed, down to earth, super likable, gritty, tough, skilled. There's nothing you're gonna say bad about Gabe, and it's cool he's giving back now and helping coach, and
Hmm.
I think he's getting ready to get on doing some like Secret Service stuff. I know he's into like the police force stuff or whatever else, getting into law
Oh,
enforcement, but I think he wants to do like I think he's chasing like Secret Service kind of stuff, which is just crazy cool. That which by the way, Garvin has done. Garvin was a Secret Service agent for a long time, like so.
yep.
Yeah, these dudes are literal killers. You know what I mean?
In the best way. In the
In the
best
best
way.
way.
In the best way,
You need
everybody.
somebody to protect the president. I guess.
Exactly. In the
Yeah,
best way.
like yeah.
All right. So I think that it was pretty evident when we were making our lists that three individuals were going to be at the top. And that's how it pretty much turned out for you, for me, and for the fans. Three names that you pretty much have seen um, really go on to other levels and just succeed in such an outstanding way. And I know that somebody on YouTube said, Brandon Womack is number one. It's easy, and I don't know that that's the case. I think that there is a case to be made for Brandon Womack being number one. He's number two in your list. He's number three in my list. He's number two in your list, number three in the fans list, number two in my list.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Um, and I just want to, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background about this is from the Cornell website. He was a
Okay.
what, two-time All-American? Is that right?
Two-time All-American Division One at Cornell. Yep.
At Cornell. All right. So six-time state champ, right? Graduated with a 422-8 record. Five losses came as a seventh grader. Okay. He was a perfect 77-0 as a senior. He had 327 of his 422 wins were by fall. Okay. He had a 190 match win streak in high school. And I could go down the list of accolades as far as college goes. I mean, EIWA All American, All Academic Team, All Ivy Team, NCAA All American. I mean, losses to Mark Hall. I mean, and wins over just some absolute studs. I have no problem with anyone that puts Brandon Womack at number one.
Totally. Totally.
So,
No
so
qualms.
was there something that stuck out about Brandon that, like, for you? Like, I mean, he's a number two on your list, but what was it about Brandon Womack that you were like, wow?
Man, he's an Alabama boy, right? Scottsboro's finest. Like came up all the way through the program, wrestled the youth, SYW. I mean, he wrestled everywhere. I think actually I got to see him more so as a kid because he wrestled my youngest brother like every single year. I
Oh,
think
is that
my
right?
youngest brother Marcus is like, he told me one time he's like I think I'm a 5-time or 6-time youth state runner up because he lost to Brandon every single year. He'd be like, oh, and so and so he's like, I know that because of Marcus, but so I saw him grow up in the sport. And then when he went to Cornell, I was like, whoa, like big splash. Cause he was a senior national champion at NHSCAs, which is this huge deal. And, he was really an Arturo boy. Like Arturo cornered him all the time, and he was training over there all the time. And so, but he won nationals and then signs with Cornell, and it was like, whoa, like okay, like what's gonna happen? Like Cornell, that's a big deal. When Cornell had just made the surge and Dake and everything else, right? And so,
Hmm.
um, and then has success, like real like crazy success, 2-time Division One All American, right? And so that was the new like, hey, this is possible. This is possible. And so we always talk about those new benchmarks that raise the bar, and Brandon did that. And so I just, man, it's like it's hard to say what could be missing there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I mean,
I
it's an
agree.
impeccable,
Yeah.
impeccable, impeccable career.
All right. So we're I love the case for Brandon Womack. Now we're going to go to another individual who comes in number 3 on your list, number 2 on the fans list, number 1 on my list, and that is Thompson High School's Sam Latona, who wrestles at Virginia Tech. I'm going to give you kind of my reasoning that I put him at number 1. I don't have any challenge. I really am good with any of these
I have no
individuals
problem
being.
with any of these guys being 1, 2, 3 for the
Yeah,
record.
I
No problem
agree.
with any of
I
them.
agree.
I pre-wrote out what my thing was, and so that's like I literally was I was as objective as possible. Um, I'm a human, and so I would argue against myself and say that I'm biased, but I would, but I tried to do that, and I have him at 3, but any one of these 1, 2, 3, I'm okay with any of them. The biggest thing I want to give him respect. Sam is still wrestling.
Mhm.
He is not done like that. He is not done, and he will be able to wrestle as long as he wants to. If he wants to, obviously in college, but he will have the opportunity to wrestle at the senior level. I have the utmost respect for Sam. Um, just from what I've observed around national team stuff and in conversations, he's been the most respectful person ever. Despite like club rivalries and stuff, like I've never seen, he's been an impeccable human 100% of the time. And what I've just, the utmost respect, man, for the commitment that he has put in to like making weight at 125 and the stuff he was doing to pull weight. I'm like, Sam, this is Navy SEAL stuff, bro. Like he is a dog, a dog, a dog. Like
So one of the things that always is fascinating to me, and especially for anyone who's maybe listening to this who doesn't kind of understand it, Sam, I think, was a one-time state champion in the state of Alabama.
I think
It's not it's
he
not
won
because
Fargo before he won state.
he
Like,
did. He did, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, two-time Fargo national champion, right? He left early to go and basically train at Virginia Tech at the Southeast Regional Training Center up there. Um, he was a Super 32 finalist. He is a four-time NCAA Division One qualifier, two-time All-American. And like you said, he's still wrestling. He's got this year. He could be a rare five-time NCAA Division One qualifier, which he probably will be, and could make a run for the top of the podium. Unbelievably talented.
Unbelievably talented. Like
Unbelievably.
unbelievably talented.
All
Yeah.
right. So let's now move to number 3 on my list, number 1 on the fans list, number 1 on your list. And I'm not going to really give him an introduction. I'm going to let you give the introduction and make the case for why Corey Land is number 1.
Okay. So first thing, he comes from a program that there was no wrestling, right? And so he's one of those communities, kind of like the Huntsville, kind of like the Clay. Um, he is a 5-time state champion, undefeated, like in high school. 2-time Super 32 finalist, took third. But he's made multiple world teams, right? He's a
Mm-hmm.
Greco world silver medalist, which Americans do not do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's like he did not wrestle in Fargo multiple years because of making world team
Mm-hmm.
stuff. He had like tech fall wins over the champions at his weight and the weight above, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
that you got to go win the tournament, but he didn't wrestle in Fargo multiple occasions because of that. He did win Fargo as a Fargo runner up as well. Um, all the things, right? He won Virginia Beach. He won, I mean, won. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
he got the Dave Schultz High School Excellence Award. Okay, which is the Heisman Trophy for high school wrestlers. And
Yep.
so he's not done wrestling, like, right? I mean, and so he could be victim to a lot of the other things why other wrestlers I didn't rank them as high. I would argue myself that I'm biased because I've seen up close and personal. He's like, my stepson or something. Okay. So obvious, whatever, but 1, 2, 3, I don't care. Um,
Well,
this year.
they're
And
different kind of comparisons, right? I mean, a little bit different because Corey's kind of real thing. I mean, is doing something at a world level that nobody else has ever done before. He hasn't had his shot yet, to wrestle in
he's
college.
this will be his first year. I mean, he
Right.
went to Vegas this year after, so he tore his ACL in wrestling Greco there in Vegas a year ago, and didn't get to wrestle freestyle. And so he's had multiple things where like he won Greco and didn't wrestle. Like he made the Greco world team with a broken rib. I don't know if anybody even knows that, but like he broke his rib on Tuesday before the world team and made the world team. And so, there was we were getting prompted for him to like, if he wins freestyle, he's going to Penn State. Like that was like the whole conversation with among college recruiting guys and the coaches and a lot of the flow people. They were all in my ear about it, and I was like, well, he's not going to wrestle, I don't think, because he's got a broken rib. And they're like, what? So he was like, yeah, I'm not cutting weight again or whatever. But he's won at all the levels, and he's made multiple teams.
Mm-hmm.
He This year he destroyed most of the field, and so he won Greco in Vegas. So year off of ACL surgery, everything else. His first tournament back, he wins Greco again, and then goes through the field in freestyle day 2, day 3, and then he ultimately loses the match. But it's day 3 of wrestling, right? Of making weight, of all the things, and he torched some dudes that are crazy good. And so I don't know, man. He's number one. I think he's the
Mm-hmm.
best high school wrestler ever from Alabama, and my hope is that he continues to do on that trajectory to wrestle in college. He says he wants to be a world champion and wrestle in the Olympics, and he's talking about fighting in jiu-jitsu and stuff after that. So I hope that he's got 10 more years of competing at least, and I get to ride shotgun for that stuff. Love him to death. He's the man, but he's done whatever metric you want to use. He's done things that nobody else has done. He has not had his chance to NCAAs, and I hope that he gets to right that ship.
Yeah.
But the things that Schwab and Roper, have to say, I just that's what I think it is,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm gonna take it a little different when I talk about Corey, just very quickly, because you've already listed the accolades, and we've listed the accolades for Brandon Womack and for Sam Latona, and really you can compare them all and kind of make your decisions. But one of the things that I was always very impressed with Corey was that I remember, I think I took a picture of Moody High School runners up in the state duels. First year state duels. I think it was the first year that there were state duels. And there's this little tiny, like 90 pounder or whatever the heck he weighed, wrestling 106 as a seventh grader. Is that right?
Greater, yeah.
Yeah, as a seventh grader for Moody High School. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like there were moments when Corey, because he was so much smaller than some of the other 106 pounders at a higher level, he would get beat. And, I always watched him and just was really impressed with the way he kind of handled the situation. And I just remember sitting there watching him going, as soon as he's the same size as everybody else, he's going to destroy everybody.
Yeah.
Destroy
Yeah.
everybody. I'm telling you, just wait till he gets to the same size, because right now he's so much smaller than everyone else. At least that's what I remember. Is that an accurate
Yeah,
representation?
totally. He lost in 7th grade. He lost to Cody Souter. So Nick Souter, Cody Souter, great
Mm-hmm.
wrestling family,
Weaver.
right? Weaver boys.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Cody Souter, who was like teammate training partner at the club. And Cody won state that year, and then the next year they wrestled in the state finals again, and Corey won. Because Cody's a year older and bigger and all things, but I mean, yeah, he was tiny, dude.
He
They were feeding
was.
him everything he could to weigh 90 pounds, and his dad was like, "Is this safe? Like are we doing the right thing?" Like I remember that really well. So
Yeah,
it was
that's so
funny.
cool. That's kind of my story. I remember Sam Latona being a really small little 6 pounder as well. I think he wrestled maybe in Fargo at like 88 pounds or
Yeah,
something. But anyway, point is, congratulations to everyone who made the list. I love the fact, whether you agree with us or you disagree with us, the fact that the conversation is being had. And stories are still being written, man. And it's going to be awesome to see who we didn't even mention in 3 shows. There will be somebody that we didn't mention in the last 3 shows who will come out of the woodwork in the next year, like maybe this year, as a high school kid, and go on and have an unbelievably great career. I just can't wait to see who that person might be.
It's going to be so fun. This was fantastic to do, Jason. I really appreciate you doing most of the legwork here, and it's fun to go down memory lane and tell some of these stories and just prop all these guys up and give respect. Disregard the number beside their name and just look at like, hey, the names that were included, and we're just that's the big thing is let's just prop those guys up, man. So much respect for all these dudes, the crazy amount of work that goes in, and it's a testament to them. It's a testament to their families, like who made all that happen, their coaches, and an entire support system around them. Donors and all kinds of people that make the training and the trips and carpooling to practice. Like it takes a village.
It
And
does.
it's so cool how close knit and down to earth the wrestling community is, and these boys, this group of young men and now adult men, are all a testament to that. And it's just really, really cool, man. What an incredible like legacy of the last 25 years and who these guys are today as leaders in their communities and who's going to be next. Like that's really it, right? Who's going to be next? And so,
Yep.
I hope that some guys, some young bucks listen to this and get motivated and say, hey, I'm next. Like that guy's me. You know what I mean? And what's going to come from that. So
Well, Jake, I appreciate you taking the time. It has not been a simple process. We had homework on the front end. We had actually taping the shows and putting them all together and everything else. But I hope everybody appreciates it, and I just appreciate you giving me perspective because you have your stories and the things you remember. I have my stories, and I think that just provides a real great color to kind of what the 25 years, at least from our perspectives, have been.
very cool. Been a great 25. Here's to the next.
All right, man. You take care.
Appreciate you, Jason. You're the best, man.
See ya.